Hello everyone. So in this video, we have with us Mr. Gaurang Mohta, one of my batchmates from Instrumentation Engineering, who recently got a pre-placement offer or what we call a PPO after his internship at Texas Instruments. And that too with a CTC of more than 20 lakhs per annum, one of the highest paid packages in the core sector. So in this video, we're going to talk about how we got this opportunity, what the interview experience was like, and how his internship and day-to-day work was like. And he'll also provide some tips for all the core aspirants out there who perhaps want to get a similar placement offer. So Gaurang, why don't you give a quick introduction of yourself?
Thank you, Narayan, for having me here. My name is Gaurang Mohta. I am a fourth-year undergraduate from the Department of Electrical Engineering, and my branch is Instrumentation Engineering. My hobbies are playing football. I love football. I like watching football. I like playing football. I live in Belgaum in Karnataka, and yeah, I recently finished my internship in Texas Instruments, and I have got a pre-placement offer as well.
Okay, so for those who don't know, Gaurang is actually a very close friend of mine. We often hang out together. We have our classes together. We have all our classes together. We usually study together. So the next question is going to be about Gaurang. So you're into your final year of college. So how has your journey been so far, especially being in the electrical engineering department and finally getting placed in a core job with over 20 lakh per annum salary package? So how do you feel?
Yeah, so first of all, I can't believe I'm in my fourth year. The last I remember, I was in my second year. I was at the end of my second year, and this pandemic time has just gone by so fast. I can't even believe that I'm at the start of my fourth year now. But my journey overall has been very good in the college. I've had very good experiences. I tried to explore many things. So if I start my journey right from the first year, I entered as an agriculture engineering student and got a department change into instrumentation engineering. That was one of the highlights of my first year, which I had thought of trying for a department change right from the beginning, and thankfully I achieved it successfully. Also, I tried to explore a few things in my first year. One of them was image processing, for which I attended a winter workshop, which is held by the Technology Robotics Society in December. And I liked image processing very much. So that's how my interest grew in signal processing, because the concepts are similar in image processing and signal processing. So when I had the course of signal and networks in my second year, I could relate the two things, and therefore I could get a hang of a few concepts, and I started liking the subject. And finally, after my second year, when the pandemic started during the lockdown, I was sort of sure that I wanted to try for core companies, and hence I applied for Texas in the signal processing profile and the embedded software profile. And finally, I got an internship in the signal processing profile. So I would give credit to my seniors and my friends around me who advised me to explore many things, and that's why I ended up here.
Awesome. So you were interning at Texas Instruments as a signal processing intern. So what does your work look like at intern at Texas Instruments? Like, what did you work on day to day? What was your project like?
Yeah, so I can't reveal a lot about my project, but my project was on Kalman filters. So it is a very standard control algorithm which is used to make measurements of a particular instrument more accurate. So that's what a Kalman filter is. My day in Texas was pretty much like any other company. We had a work from home protocol. Unfortunately, we couldn't go to the office to get hands-on experience, but the company tried its best to give the experience from home itself. We were given a laptop which was shipped to us at least 1 month before the internship. So because of that, some of the laptops weren't blocked because of the lockdown. Also, during my internship, I had a pretty relaxed time frame, so I could work at any time. I could stop working at any time. We had to log in to our VPN, but then it was not a hard rule that you have to log in at a particular time or log out at a particular time. As long as I kept meeting my deadlines, which were for me given every 2 days, as long as I was meeting my deadlines, I was well and good even if I worked 10 hours a day or 2 hours a day. So it was depending on me and depending on the work that was given.
Wow, amazing. And for those like this question is for all of those who don't know Texas. So if you can describe Texas, what it makes, what it does, that would be great for all the people out there who perhaps don't know that there's a company called Texas.
Yeah, sure. So Texas Instruments is a company based in USA. Its headquarters is in Dallas in USA. It is one of the biggest semiconductor company in the world. It does two things. One is research and development. So the research and development center is there in India in Bangalore. It's also there in USA, and it does manufacturing also. But the manufacturing isn't there in India. Now, if you talk about the products which Texas Instruments makes, it is not very common to see the products in the market because it makes the interior parts of many electronic devices. For example, you will have some Texas chips in your computer, you will have some Texas chips in your calculator, in your mobile, and so on. In USA, if you see, there are a bit more products in the market directly of Texas Instruments. Like they have a programming calculator, which many of the engineering students in USA use.
Hmm.
Also, if I talk about my work, especially, I was in the radars team in Texas Instruments. So we our team made a chip, a radar on a chip. So generally, you see the radars are very big, but Texas focused on making radars on a chip for small distance object detection, and
Right.
that is mainly used in autonomous vehicles. So those were our customers. So the products are not front end, you can say, but many back end products are there of Texas Instruments.
Right. And if someone is from electrical engineering, they must have heard of Texas Instruments because almost all of our equipments in the lab and everything come from Texas only.
Exactly.
So they must have heard of that. So
Yeah.
now that we know about Texas, like, can you tell me a bit about the interview process of Texas Instruments, like all the rounds that you had?
Yeah, so Texas Instruments opens for circular branches only, which are electronics, electrical, and instrumentation. And the selection process is same for all the branches. Also, it opens for four profiles. One is analog, digital, signal processing, and embedded software. So the selection process involves one test and two technical interviews.
Right.
So the test of all the profiles is held consecutively. So you can select which profile you want beforehand, and depending on the number of profiles you have selected, that will determine the length of the test. So if I have selected two profiles, so depending on the paper, I'll have one aptitude section which is common for everyone, and then followed by test of two profiles. If I've selected four profiles, I'll have the aptitude section and followed by tests of four profiles. Now, test of one profile does not relate with the test of another profile. So if I have done suppose well in signal processing and I have not done well in analog, it will not affect my signal processing selection. So
Right.
all the tests are independent of each other. And the test, I would say, is of a moderate to difficulty. You have to be very sure of your concepts which are taught in the class. One good thing is mostly questions are not asked from outside what is being taught in our college. So you just need to revise your notes. You just need to
Hmm.
solve a few questions to get the hang of it. There's You don't really need to read any much extra reading material for the tests. Also, after you get shortlisted for the test, there are two interviews, uh, two technical interviews. The first one is a bit easy, and the second one is a bit hard. Yeah, so you have to crack both the interviews to get selected to get selected for an internship.
Okay, can you mention like what kind of questions did they ask? Like were the MCQs in the test or and maybe in the interviews, like what kind of questions did they ask? That would be great for the people out there.
Yeah, sure. So I would say that the questions were different. There were a few MCQs, there were a few fill in the blanks, there were a few questions in which you had to enter the answer by hand. But there were no descriptive type of questions where you had to type the whole thing.
Right.
I gave the test for signal processing and embedded software profile. So I don't really know much about the other two profiles, but I have a brief idea that the analog profile test was very difficult, and the digital test was medium to difficult in its difficulty. Now, the type of questions, if I would say the topics from which the questions were asked in signal processing, they were mainly asked from Fourier transform, difference equations, system and its properties, impulse response, and you need to know basic probability as well. So these were the topics from which they were asked. And for embedded software, you need to be good in basic programming and data structures. So the PDS course, which is taught in our first year, is very important for that. You need to be clear in your concepts of pointers, especially because many questions are asked of that. And in this part, there were many questions like there was a snippet of code and we had to find the output. Then there were a few direct MCQs. There were a few questions on computer architecture, not very difficult ones, but basic questions on computer architecture. And yeah, but there was no coding question. You didn't have to code
Right.
any particular question. Yeah, so there was no competitive programming, but you needed to be very sure about your PDS concepts in the
Okay.
interviews as well and in the tests as well.
Okay. And in the interviews, what kind of questions did they ask? Like similar only.
It was more or less the same thing. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Got it. Now that we know about the interview process, like how can one prepare for the same, considering that they're not from IITs, maybe they're from other colleges? Like what courses should they focus upon? Where should they focus upon maybe? Because it's suppose there are many free resources out there. So maybe you can specify some of those. That would be great.
Yeah. So if you are from not from an IIT, but if you are from a circular branch, one thing to note is that the course material is more or less the same in every college.
Right,
If
right.
you talk about core companies, they'll have a subject, they'll have few subjects which have to be there to become an electrical engineer or an electronics engineer or an instrumentation engineer. And these courses cover more or less everything which you need to prepare for the
Right.
interviews or tests. Apart from there, there's a website called Glassdoor. I think this is common for every
Hmm.
company. So I saw this website for many questions. So I got an idea of what kind of questions are asked, especially in the interviews. That was a very
Okay.
helpful website for me. Glassdoor.com.
Okay. And for resources like I guess NPTEL also a good resources if he or she wants to check out the courses that people teach in IITs and maybe they can get an idea from there.
Yes, yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, NPTEL is a very good option. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Now that we know about your interview experience and how can one prepare for the same, what was the internship like? Like you worked there for 2 months. What was that experience like?
Yeah, so as I said before, it was a very good experience. I was hired as a signal processing engineer in the radars team. And as
Hmm.
I said, our team focused on making a radar on a chip. So it was a very good experience. Would have been better if I was at the campus instead of at home.
Right.
But the company made sure that we weren't felt left out. We didn't feel left out. So there was a couple of sessions with the team, and there was an interaction session with the whole group of interns from every college in which we played games. So those were a few good highlights of the internship. Also, if I talk about the more serious stuff, um, my internship was set in such a way that I had weekly deadlines, and those were rough deadlines which I had to meet. And I was assigned a mentor who was making sure that I meet those deadlines. Now, my
Right.
mentor was a very helpful and a very, you can say, a good person from my perspective because he helped me out in many parts of the internship.
Right.
And yeah, he was very friendly, and we were more like friends rather than a mentor and mentee relationship.
Awesome.
Also, we had two evaluations of the internship. One was a mid internship presentation which
Hmm.
I had to give to my team, and second was the end internship presentation which I had to give to my team as well as the radars team from USA. So that
Wow.
was held in such a time that people from USA also could join, and that I think was a very good experience because I got many inputs from people working abroad as well.
Correct.
So that was actually a very good experience. Yeah, and I would say that I was able to meet my target of the internship, which was whichever was set for the last week.
Awesome. And can you mention some of the perks or maybe advantages or gifts that you maybe got from Texas so that people can get an idea if they get into Texas, what kind of advantages or perks they can get?
Yeah, so when I got selected for the internship, after a few months, I think after 4 or 5 months, I got an email from Texas that they're sending a gift to us. So the gift contained a whole voucher of many things, such as I had a T-shirt of Texas Instruments. I wish I was wearing that now. I was given a bag of Texas Instruments. I was given a water bottle. I was given, I think, a pen and a diary as well. Also, I was given a box of cookies and chocolates.
Wow.
So that was, yeah, those are very tasty. Yeah, and apart from that, if you talk about other perks, the brand name of Texas Instruments itself is very big to call it a perk. So if you're
Right.
working in Texas Instruments, if you're interning in Texas Instruments, it's a company which is well known in India, and it's more well known abroad as well, especially in the semiconductor and in the electronics industry. So
Right.
the tag of Texas Instruments itself is a very big perk.
Wow. Right. Right. Absolutely. So now we are coming on to the final question. So would you like to give some final tips for all the people out there who want to crack maybe some similar companies like both off campus and on campus? Maybe some final tips and advices for these guys.
Yeah, so regarding on campus, I would say that if you are trying for Texas Instruments or any other core company, make sure that your basic concepts are clear. These basic concepts include the subjects like signals and networks or signals and systems. Then analog electronics, it is important in every field of electronics, I believe, the subject analog electronics.
Right.
Also, I think digital electronics is also a very important course. So whichever course you are studying, these three courses especially, make sure that you are thorough with all the basic concepts of these courses, because even if they ask a tricky question from these courses in the interview, you will be in a state to answer them. Mind you, there were not many tricky questions in the interview, but I had around 2 to 3 questions, I think, which were make or break. If I if
Right.
I had not given satisfactory answers in those questions, I would not have been selected, because the easier ones, I think everyone would have got them. So
Right.
that is one important thing to keep in mind, that make sure your concepts are clear. So in my case, my signal processing concepts were clear right from the beginning. I liked the subject, and I studied it not from exam point of view, but from a learning point of view. Now, this is a very important distinction, that many people study the subjects from exam point of view, and they tend to forget them after the exams.
Right.
I did not study, especially signal processing. I did not study from exam point of view, and that is why when I started preparing for the internship, it was a very easy path for me. I just had to revise a few things, and it was done in a few days itself. So that was one of the important things. Secondly, I would say that even if you are a core person and want to go for core thoroughly, always try to keep a backup. So it's like do a bit of competitive programming. Even if you're not into it, try to do it at least for 1.5 to 1 month or 1.5 months or 2 months before the internship begins, so that you have a good enough backup in your hand.
Right. Absolutely.
Generally, people who wants to go for core in Texas Instruments are from circuitous branches, so the preference is also a bit higher. So even if you know a decent amount of competitive programming, you might get selected into good firms as a backup. That's
Right.
one thing. Also, you asked about off campus. So I don't know much about it, but I surely know this thing, that there are off campus internship and as well as placement drives conducted by Texas Instruments, which you can apply through their website. And it is good to have a referral from anyone working in Texas Instruments for that.
Right.
Also, if you know anyone working in Texas Instruments, Texas Instruments has a program which is called as internal referrals, in which the internal employees, they refer their acquaintances or anyone they know
Right.
for placements or internships. So that is one way of going about it.
Awesome, awesome. So thank you so much, Gaurang, for coming here and giving this insightful talk to all the code aspirants out there. I'm sure that the people are going to love this. So thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed this as well.
Yeah, the pleasure is all mine. Thank you.
Yeah, guys. So
Thank you very much.
I'll mention Gaurang's LinkedIn profile in the description below so that you can check him out. And if you have any questions, you can directly ask him in LinkedIn anywhere. So yeah, if you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more such amazing videos. Bye bye.